Alright, welcome back. We are on week 3, day 3. And here we go. So for today you'll need your science sheet. Let me show you which one, if you haven't already gotten it. Alright. Well, you're going to need your bell work first off. Week 3, day 3. And you're going to need your science sheet, which is week 3, day 1. How do plants get water from roots to leaves? Roots to leaves. And then your cursive sheet. So today should be somewhat quick, hopefully. We can get through the science quick. Alright. So on to the bell work. Week 3, day 3. That dog looks pitiful. Pitiful means sad or, yeah, just kind of sad. That's what pitiful means. Okay. So we always start a sentence out with capital. So in this case, capital T, T, H, A, T. Dog needs a lowercase o in it. D, O, G. Looks is okay. L, O, K, S. And pitiful, it's not Y, it's an I. So P, I, T, I, F, U, L, L. And we can probably end that with a period. Alright. Cursive, T, A, T. That dog looks, pitiful. Make sure you practice your spelling words. Alright, on to the math. 107 plus 93. 7 plus 3 is 10. Carry the 1. 10. And we have 200. 12. 8. 4. 482. 291 minus 136. Borrow. 11 minus 6 is 5. 5. 155. 328 minus 154. 4. 12 minus 5 is 7. And 174. 57 times 3, 2-digit multiplication, old school first. 7 times 3 is 21, carry the 2, 15, 171. New school, Common Core math. 3 times 50 is 150. 7 times 3 is 21. 171. 7 times 3 is 21, carry 2. 7 times 6 is 42, plus 2 is 44. That's a big number, 441. 7 times 60 is 420. 7 times 3 is 21. 1, 4, 4, 441, 441. 0 times 6, 0. 2 times 6 is 12. Alright. 6 times 20 is 120, and we don't really need to do the ones because it's 0. So 120, 120. Same with this one. 280. This one, we can work it out. 2 times 9 is 18. 17. 2 times 8 is 16, plus 1 is 17. Alright. 2 times 80 is 160. 9 times 2 is 18. 8, 7, 178. 81 divided by 9 is 9. 56 divided by 8 is 7. 63 divided by 9, 7. 20 divided by 10, 2. 40 divided by 5. Work backwards. 5 times 8, 40. 2 times 10, 20. 7 times 9 is 63. 7 times 8 is 56. 9 times 9 is 81. Alright. 1 equals 6 over what? Well, we're talking about one big whole pie there. If we take the same pie and we cut it into, say, 6 pieces, okay? How are we going to get that whole pie? Well, we'd have to go 6 over 6. We have to eat 6 pieces out of 6 to eat the whole pie. So to change a fraction into a whole number, you just basically have to make the numerator and denominator the same number. So 7 over 7 is the same as 1 whole. That's just like saying 7 pieces out of 7. Whole thing. Alright. Tomorrow's bell work will be week 3, day 4. Alright, on to the science. Remember, you can always pause this to get your papers ready. Otherwise, I'm just going to go through it. All right. how do plants get water from roots to leaves? So let's see, let's first read the question so we know what to look for when we do the reading. All right. So, which part of the plant gets water from the soil? Which part of the plant is the last to get water? And why do plants need water? All right, so all those answers are in the reading up here. Feel free to mark, draw lines, stars, whatever you want. Maybe you have a highlighter to mark your things you want to remember during the reading. That's fine, okay? Here we go. I'm going to read, pay attention, and try and look for some of those answers to the questions that we just asked. All right. Every living thing needs water in order to grow and survive. The water that plants need usually comes from rain falling on the ground and soaking into the soil. A plant's roots are able to get water, but the leaves and stems need water too. So, since water can't move on its own, the different plant parts must work together to move the water. Alright? And it says, look at the diagram. Draw arrows to show the path that water takes as it travels from the air to the leaves of a plant. So we know that water starts in the air from the clouds. I'll give you that hint. And you're going to start your arrow there. Now where does the water go? So obviously it's going to fall, it's going to go into the ground. And then where does it go from there? So use your arrows. And matter of fact, let's just do A together. And then you can answer 1, 2, and 3 on your own. Okay? So obviously the rain forms in the clouds. You know, moisture rises in the air. It cools down and then it condenses and it starts to form into clouds, right? And then it falls into a form of what's called precipitation, which is rain, sleet, or snow, right? So in case in this picture, it looks like rain, right? So it falls down rain, it falls into the soil, okay? And the roots, the soil absorbs all the water, and then all the roots that are in the soil that are still living roots will suck up all that water, and that water will go up through the roots, and then travels through the stem, and then finally reaching the leaves. Okay? So that's the path of water. Okay. Alright, so then you gotta answer these questions, remember. Alright, then there's the flip side of this page, too. Alright? Looks like we have some vocabulary words. Over here, absorb, it means to soak up. Diffuse root. A diffuse root is a type of shallow root that spreads out far. Okay, so here's an example of a diffuse root. And then a taproot is a type of root that is long and extends deep into the ground. So here is an example of a taproot. So there's different types of roots. Okay. I'll give you a hint. I don't think it says it in here, but this kind of root, a diffuse root, you would probably find in a desert where water hits the ground and evaporates pretty quickly, right? So you would want a root close to the surface so it could suck up that moisture before it evaporates. Or maybe the ground's really hard under here and the roots can't go deep into the soil, and the water that falls kind of lays on top of the soil or near the top of the soil. So you would want a diffuse root that spreads out and sucks up as much water as it can that lays on near or top of the soil. A taproot you would find in a more absorbent soil, where the water falls on the soil and it soaks deep down into the soil. You would find these in like your forest, your trees area, Michigan type soil for the most part. We have probably more of a taproot friendly soil where the water is going to soak down deep into the soil. So we have a lot of our plants. That looks like a dandelion, which a lot of you are probably seeing right now. I know my yard is full of them. You'd have a taproot plant probably mostly found here in Michigan. These type you might find in like Nevada or something near deserts. But there's both types of these roots in Michigan also. Okay. All right. So let me read this. Well, let's read the questions first so you know what to look for. It says use the vocabulary words to complete each sentence. So your vocabulary words are the words I just went over: absorb, diffuse, and taproot. Okay? You're going to answer these questions that follow. You could find blank roots close to the surface. Number 2, a blank root is best for finding water deep underground. And number 3, plants have parts to blank water and minerals from the soil. So you use these 3 words over here to answer those 3 questions. And everything you need to know is in the reading, which I'm going to go over here in a second. And then part B, write which kind of root would work best for the places described below. For number 1, a wet, soft marsh. Number 2, a dry, rocky prairie. So which of these 2 would you fit in both these lines? Questions here, okay? Would a taproot be good for a wet, soft marsh, or would a diffuse root? Okay? All right, here we go. I'm going to do the reading. You follow along. Our vocabulary words are in bold print. Here we go. All roots absorb water from the ground, but not all plants have the same kind of roots. Some plants have taproots that grow deep into the ground. Taproots are good for finding water buried deep below the surface. Plants that live in dry areas with hard dirt often have taproots. Other plants have diffuse roots. These roots spread out far and are good for making sure a plant is strongly supported. Plants that grow in mud or sand often have diffuse roots. Okay? All right. Here we go. So that's your science for today. Make sure you do it. And let's move on to our story time. Jack Sparrow. Have your cursive sheet ready? Get the video ready. And here we go. All right. Chapter 4. By the crew's 3rd day at sea, a blinding sun shone brightly against the blue sky. The weather had steadily improved the farther they sailed from Tortuga. This should have been good news, but nothing moved under the sun's heat. The sea was as flat as glass. There were no ripples of fish, no movement of the sails, no breeze at all. It was very, very hot, and the barnacle was in the middle of the sea with no land in sight. The crew had only a little drinking water left, which might last more than one day if they rationed it very carefully. The crew sat wilted and unmoving on the deck. Fitzwilliam had even finally taken off his fine blue jacket, not very proper for a nobleman. Jack had no issues with modesty and opened his shirt as widely as he could. Fitzwilliam didn't bother hiding his disgust with the situation. It has been days now, he said, 2 of those days without a single wind or any idea of where we are. We know that, Fitz, Arabella said crossly. She had pinned up her hair to keep cool, but drops of sweat still ran down her neck. I thought ye 2 were sailors, Arabella challenged. Well, I know I am, Jack protested. Arabella and Fitzwilliam just stared. A sailor, Jack continued, and so did the stairs. Of sorts, Jack finished, before quickly turning away. What about ye? Arabella said, throwing a compass at Fitzwilliam's chest. Oh, me father, the Earl, taught me all about reading maps and charts and latitudes and the rest, she said in a snooty, mocking tone. If we had a map, I could read it, Fitzwilliam growled. Oh, yes. They are so very easy to come by. Those secret maps in pirate kingdoms, Jack said sarcastically. Or they would be if there really were a blasted pirate kingdom. he added under his breath, sneering at Arabella. And what's that supposed to mean? Arabella demanded. I told ye I thought Stone Isle Escalatica was probably one of the smaller Leeward Islands. I never claimed to know exactly where he landed. You sounded awfully sure back at the cove, Jack said sternly. Oh, hang the both of ye. Arabella snarled in a very unladylike way and turned her back on Jack and Fitzwilliam. Jack sighed. He took off his bandana and mopped his face with it. As a gesture of goodwill, he offered it to Fitzwilliam, but the nobleman's son just gave him a look of disgust. Jack shrugged and put it back on, tucking in a stray bit of hair that breeze kept blowing out of place. He stopped suddenly, realizing something. A breeze! He kept blowing his hair out of place. A breeze, he said. A breeze, he repeated. He licked his finger and held it up, turning around to determine the breeze's source. He turned to the southwest, the direction of the very faint wind. Fitz, give me your glass, he demanded. Too hot and tired to argue, the other boy opened his kit and carefully pulled out a spyglass, which is a telescope. A gift from his father, his most prized possession. It was made of what looked like brass and copper, but could just as well have been gold. It had lenses made in Holland by the finest craftsmen. Jack treated the small telescope far less gently, opened it with a snap that made Fitzwilliam flinch. Jack held the glass to his eye and looked to the south. What is it, Jack? Arabella asked, forgetting her anger. A wind, finally, he answered. What's that? Fitzwilliam exclaimed. What? Both Jack and Arabella stared at him dubiously. Fitzwilliam shifted uncomfortably. I believe I meant, yo-ho-ho, wind up yar, he said quite unnaturally, clearing his throat. In the distance, Jack could see a fast-moving gray curtain of showers. As he lowered the glass, a wind was already rising around them. And there's rain with it, too. Well, that is excellent news. We shall not die of thirst, then, Fitzwilliam said. Then the first clouds began to darken the skies overhead. No, we certainly will not die of thirst, Jack said, biting his lip. Eerie, sharp squawks suddenly sounded overhead. Jack looked up to see flocks of gulls, pelicans, and other seabirds covering the darkened sky, fleeing the approaching storm. The crew was silent for a few minutes, watching both sea and sky churn before them. A light drizzle began, prepping the ocean with tiny ripples. The sky became gradually darker, as if some lamp in the heavens were being turned down slowly. The unruly surf became more violent, carelessly tossing the ship about. Where did it come from? Arabella murmured. I mean, it seems still strange, the sky, the sea. They were so still just a moment ago. Where it comes from does not matter, Jack said. It's where it's going that should be a concern to us, especially as it seems headed directly for the mighty Barnacle. Come now, it is probably no more than a squall, Fitzwilliam said, squinting to keep his eyes shielded from the increasingly heavy rain. If we are able to stay afloat, it shall all be over in an hour or two. We shall get through this easily. As though in response, a tremendous crash of thunder, louder than any cannon fire the crew had ever heard, rocked the entire ship. Unimaginably, long forks of lightning flashed all around them, and a huge swelling wave swept over the deck, drenching the shipmates. Help me grab the line, Jack ordered. Reef the sails immediately. Lower the sails, but we finally have a wind, Fitzwilliam protested. Jack stepped up to him. Of course we have winds. How pleasant and how convenient for us. They'll just get caught in the sails and push us on our merry way toward the island. His voice became sterner. Or they'll tip this boat over like a child's toy. Savvy? Fitzwilliam understood. The two boys lowered the sails and made the rigging fast. Arabella battened down the hatches the best she could. Her almost superior knowledge of pirates, legends of the sea, and history contained almost nothing about the actual practice of sailing. She acted on instinct, tying up loose rope and other things on the deck, and went below to secure what few personal items they had lying around the sleeping quarters. Soon the storm was hitting them full force. Jack and Fitzwilliam had just tied down the lowermost sail and made the boom secure when the fierce storm delivered them a huge punch. Wind screamed around the rigging. The rain became a flood of water pouring from a pitch-black sky. Above, the clouds roiled and swirled, mirroring the waves below. The Barnacle pitched wildly as Jack and Fitzwilliam tried to turn the boat to run with the storm. But even with Arabella adding to her strength, the wheel spun out of control, and the rudder pulled away from them. Water poured over the deck in a flash flood, so severe that the crew couldn't keep their footing. The three novice sailors were thrown from the railing to railing as the Barnacle rocked in the storm. "It's no good," Fitzwilliam shouted. "The Barnacle is being tossed around like a little toy." Fitz, grab your axe. "Help me take the mainmast down," Jack yelled. "You're crazy," Fitzwilliam shouted. "You're mad. Just listen to me. You can tell me I'm wrong later, when we are not dead," Jack yelled. "I'll lower it down from the other side. Belle," he turned to her, "I need you to make a sea anchor. Grab anything heavy you can, like a barrel or a fitzy bag. Whatever. Something that will give us a drag. Tie a rope to it firmly and feed it off the aft end. Got it?" "Aye, aye," she said, and ran off. Jack put his knife in his teeth and scurried up the mast like a monkey, clinging tightly as the wind tried to push him off. He cut down the rigging as he went, allowing it and the sails to fall at the deck. At the very top, he grabbed the last remaining rope and used it to swing down, letting the slack out as he went. "Now, Fitz," he yelled. Fitzwilliam did as he told, hacking at the mast as if it were a tree. Standing on the pitching deck, Jack braced himself with the rope. When the long timber finally began to topple, he let the rope out, easing the mast down as best he could. It still smashed a hole in the deck where it fell. Fitzwilliam barely leapt out of the way in time. "It's all done, Jack," Arabella shouted over and over of the storm. "But why did we need to do that? Aren't we as good as dead now?" "We were top heavy," Jack shouted back. "The wind was still catching at the mast, but that danger is past. Now, hold fast to the wheel." Two at a time, they held the wheel to steady the ship, while the third went below and bailed the water out using buckets, and still the storm beat down. After hours of wet misery spent just keeping the Barnacle afloat, the clouds and the rain swept on. Within a few short minutes, it was as if there had never been a storm at all. The sun shone, and fish leapt out of the water. Jack's plan had worked. The Barnacle was upright, though it had really taken a beating. And then a tan and green line appeared on the blue horizon before them. "Land ho!" Jack shouted, looking through Fitzwilliam's spyglass. "We must have been pushed here by the wind before we anchored, but could not see anything through the storm. Let us heave to and look for water," Fitzwilliam said. "Not," he added quickly to Arabella, who was wringing out her skirts, "that the use of our fresh water didn't make for a great anchor. It was the only heavy barrel we had," she snapped. "And you're free to drink the rainwater on the deck, Master Dalton." "Now, mates," Jack interrupted, "let's get the mast back up and raise what sail we can. There's a good amount of rope below deck that could secure it, at least for now. Chapter 5 tomorrow." All right, for tomorrow, you need your bell work done. You need to have your reading sheet ready. 2 sheets. There's for your fluency, and then the questions that follow, and then a cursive sheet. Good work for today.